The space station hung like a glittering jewel above the shattered remains of a nearby planet. Lights blinked across its surface, casting long shadows in the maintenance bays below. Ronan wiped his greasy hands on a rag, the smell of oil and metal thick in the air. He had been working here for years, fixing ships and machines that no one else wanted to touch. Most of the aliens on the station ignored humans, thinking them weak, fragile, and unimportant. But Ronan didn't care. He knew what he could do. Today, however, was different. Today, the station's upper deck was hosting a gathering of the elite, Lysera among them. She was a high-ranking alien noble, tall and graceful, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. By her side was her dragon, its scales dull from some injury or illness. It was supposed to be magnificent, a symbol of her power. But the creature moved slowly, its wings trembling as it tried to lift itself from the floor. Ronan had seen the dragon earlier, lying quietly in its cage, looking defeated. It wasn't a dangerous beast, not in its current state. But the aliens treated it as a crown jewel. And Lysera treated everyone else as a joke. When Ronan approached to deliver a repaired plasma cutter to one of the alien engineers, Lysera's gaze fell on him. Her lips curled in amusement. "A human," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "They let you into this hull? What can a fragile little thing like you do here?" She laughed, a sound sharp enough to make metal rings on the walls tremble. The crowd around her joined in, chuckling at Ronan. His hands froze on the cutter for a moment, but he didn't back down. He had learned long ago that aliens loved to belittle humans, assuming strength meant size or claws or firepower. But humans had their own strengths. Intelligence. Patience. Ingenuity. Qualities no alien could measure with their eyes. Lysera stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with cruelty. "And what about my dragon?" she said, gesturing to the creature that struggled to rise. "Do you think a human could even touch it, let alone fix it? I doubt you could repair a broken wheel, much less a living, breathing dragon." Her laugh echoed again. "You? A mechanic? You are nothing here." A hush fell over the immediate area as all eyes turned toward Ronan. He could feel their curiosity, their amusement, even their contempt. But he also felt a spark inside himself. Not fear. Not shame. Something stronger, determination. He set the plasma cutter down on the bench and straightened. "I don't need your approval," he said calmly, his voice steady. "But if you want proof, I can make your dragon move again. Strong. Fast. Better than before." The crowd gasped. A human dared to speak like that to Lysera? Whispers spread through the hall. Some were doubtful, others intrigued. Lysera's expression darkened. She had not expected defiance. "Do you really think you can?" she said, her voice low now, but still filled with that cutting edge of mockery. "Fine. Try. And if you fail," she leaned closer, and her eyes sparkled with malicious delight, "I will enjoy seeing you humiliated." Ronan didn't flinch. He had no time for threats or insults. He simply nodded. "I'll fix it," he said. "And when I'm done, you'll see why humans are never to be underestimated." Lysera laughed again, loud and cruel. "Bring your little tools, human. Let's see what pathetic tricks you have." Ronan turned away, ignoring the whispers that followed him. The dragon lay in its cage, watching him with tired, wary eyes. It was injured, yes, but not beyond help. He knelt by the side of the cage, studying the creature closely. Its wings were torn, one claw bent unnaturally, and a strange metallic implant was embedded near its shoulder. It had been tampered with, poorly maintained, and left to weaken over time. Most of the aliens had given up on it. But Ronan didn't see weakness. He saw potential. He worked quietly in the corner of the hall, pulling out tools, sensors, and makeshift repair parts from his bag. Sweat ran down his forehead, but he didn't stop. He had to move carefully, listen to the dragon, watch its reactions. A wrong move could make the creature panic, or worse, injure itself further. The crowd grew restless, some moving closer to watch, others shaking their heads. They didn't believe a human could succeed. To them, this was a spectacle of humiliation waiting to happen. But Ronan ignored their judgment. He focused on the dragon, speaking softly, letting it hear his calm, steady voice. Slowly, it lifted its head, observing him with eyes that reflected pain, and a glimmer of hope. Ronan smiled faintly. He knew this was only the beginning. The challenge was not just to fix the dragon, it was to prove that humans could achieve what aliens thought impossible. And deep inside, he felt a fire. Not for revenge. Not for glory. But to show, once and for all, that humans could rise, even in a galaxy that mocked them. The first bolt turned. The first metal piece shifted. The dragon flinched, then waited. The game had begun. And somewhere in the back of the hall, Lysera's confident laughter faltered for the very first time. Ronan worked quietly in the corner of the hall, the crowd watching from a distance, whispering and pointing. He ignored them. Each glance and murmur fueled him instead of slowing him down. The dragon lay before him, its scales dull, its wings trembling slightly, and its eyes wary. It watched Ronan with a mix of fear and curiosity. He could feel the pain in its body, the frustration of being trapped in weakness, and he understood it. He examined the dragon carefully. Its left wing was torn in several places, and a jagged edge of metal poked from an old implant. Its breathing was shallow, uneven. Most of the aliens would have written it off as useless. But Ronan didn't see a broken creature. He saw a challenge, a puzzle, and most importantly, potential. He started with the implant, gently running his hands along the metal to check its alignment. The dragon flinched at his touch at first, growling softly, but Ronan spoke in a calm voice. "Easy now," he said. "I'm not here to hurt you. I want to help." His words weren't just for himself, they carried the kind of reassurance the dragon could feel. Slowly, it relaxed, just enough for him to continue. Pulling a small scanner from his bag, Ronan ran it over the dragon's body. Lights blinked, and a series of numbers and patterns appeared on the device. He frowned. The implant had been damaged long ago, but it wasn't beyond repair. If he could realign it and stabilize the wiring, the dragon's strength could return. Perhaps even exceed what the aliens expected. He began dismantling the damaged components carefully. Sparks flew from a welding tool as he worked, but the dragon didn't flinch anymore. Its eyes followed his movements, seemingly watching with a mix of hope and suspicion. He worked slowly, every turn of a bolt, every adjustment, deliberate. One wrong move and the dragon could panic, or worse, the implant could fail entirely. The whispers from the crowd grew louder. "Why is he so careful?" one alien muttered. "It's just a human. It won't matter what he does." Another sneered, "This is going to be entertaining. Wait until it screams." But the more they doubted, the more determined Ronan became. Doubt from others was meaningless. Only results mattered. Hours passed. Ronan's hands were stained with oil and blood from minor scratches, but he didn't stop. The dragon's breathing became steadier, its wings twitching slightly as if testing itself. Ronan smiled faintly. "There," he said softly. "Better. Not perfect, but we're getting there." He worked on the torn wing next. Using a combination of alien alloy wires and human engineering ingenuity, he reinforced the wing's bones and mended the torn membranes. The dragon flinched at each stitch, but with gentle reassurances, it allowed him to continue. It was strange to see a creature of raw power submit so carefully to a human. Most of the aliens would never believe it. By midday, the implant was aligned, the wing supported, and the dragon's breathing much steadier. Ronan stepped back, wiping sweat from his forehead. The crowd had gathered closer now, their whispers full of disbelief. Some dared to hope, others still scoffed. Lysera watched from a distance, her expression a mixture of irritation and curiosity. For the first time, she seemed uncertain. Ronan knelt before the dragon and extended his hand. You can try now, he said softly. Slowly, the dragon lifted its head. Its eyes locked on his, and then it stretched its wing experimentally. A small, uneven flap lifted it slightly off the ground. The crowd gasped. Even the most skeptical aliens had to stare. Not bad for a human, muttered one of the engineers. Maybe he's lucky. Ronan ignored the comment. Luck had nothing to do with this. Skill, patience, and understanding, that was what mattered. He guided the dragon through small exercises, encouraging it to stretch its wings and move its legs. At first, each motion was hesitant and shaky. But the dragon began to respond, gaining strength with every attempt. Its eyes, once dull, now held a spark of life and trust. Lysera's lips pressed together in anger. How could a human achieve what her elite dragon handlers could not? The thought burned in her mind, but she could not look away. She had underestimated him. Ronan's patience paid off. By late afternoon, the dragon could stand fully, wings slightly lifted, tail swaying. Its strength was returning. The alien elite began murmuring, some in awe, others in disbelief. They had laughed at this human, mocked his abilities, yet here he was, doing what they said was impossible. Ronan stepped back, giving the dragon space. You're stronger than they give you credit for, he said softly. The dragon let out a low, steady growl, acknowledging him. For the first time, it moved without fear, moving with intention and testing its newfound strength. In that moment, Ronan realized something. This was more than a repair. This was a partnership. Together, human and dragon, they could accomplish far more than anyone had imagined. The crowd watched silently, some beginning to feel the weight of what they had witnessed. Lysera clenched her fists. For all her power and status, she had failed to see what mattered most: courage, patience, and intelligence. She had mocked him, but the human mechanic had already started to prove her wrong. Ronan looked at the dragon, and then at the aliens. This is just the beginning, he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. And deep inside, he knew it was true. He had awakened something not just in the dragon, but in everyone watching, the undeniable strength of a human who refused to be underestimated. The hall buzzed with whispers. Aliens edged closer, curious about the human who dared to tame what they considered untouchable. But not everyone was watching with awe. Some of the alien nobles had long memories of pride and power, and none of them liked seeing their superiority challenged. They had come to the station expecting entertainment, a human failing miserably. What they got instead was a human succeeding. Among the crowd, a group of jealous engineers whispered urgently. He can't do it on his own, one hissed. We need to make sure he fails. Another nodded, pulling out a small device, something meant to interfere with the dragon's implant. A little disruption, and the creature will panic. Then we'll see the human crumble. Ronan had sensed the tension rising. He glanced at the dragon, who was cautiously walking in small circles, testing its wings. Its eyes flicked toward him, trusting and alert. He didn't see just a creature, he saw a partner, one that could feel his focus and resolve. As Ronan prepared the next stage of the repair, adjusting the dragon's wings for better balance, one of the aliens slipped into the corner of the hall. The device hummed faintly, sending small pulses toward the implant. The dragon flinched and stumbled slightly. Its wings trembled. The crowd murmured, unsure what had caused it. Some laughed nervously. Ronan froze for a heartbeat, then quickly realized what had happened. The dragon wasn't weak, it was being sabotaged. A smile crossed his face, not because he enjoyed conflict, but because this was exactly the kind of challenge humans thrived on. He bent closer to the dragon and whispered, "Stay calm. I've got you." Ignoring the crowd, Ronan pulled out a small, hand-built stabilizer from his bag. Using his knowledge of both human mechanics and alien technology, he carefully adjusted the implant, countering the interference. Sparks flew from his tools, and the dragon shook slightly, but it didn't panic. It trusted him. And that trust gave him the edge he needed. The saboteur tried again, nudging the device to increase the pulses. This time, the dragon started to hiss, low and threatening. Ronan moved faster, hands steady despite the heat of the moment. He recalibrated the stabilizer, overriding the alien tampering with clever wiring and precision adjustments. The dragon stopped trembling and lowered its wings, looking to Ronan for guidance. "See?" Ronan said softly, smiling. "You're stronger than they think. Let's show them." The crowd gasped as the dragon flapped its wings lightly, then lifted a few inches off the ground. Lysera's eyes widened, a flicker of shock passing over her face. She had thought the human would fail. She had expected humiliation, but instead, the dragon was responding. Not perfectly, but enough to show life, power, and potential. The human mechanic moved with confidence, adjusting the dragon's balance and supporting its movements. Every touch, every gesture, was deliberate. The crowd began to quiet, some in awe, some in disbelief. Rumors of human ingenuity and patience spread quickly among the audience. Even the whispers of sabotage could not shake what they were witnessing. Lysera clenched her jaw. Her prized dragon was supposed to be hers alone, a symbol of her power. Yet here she saw a human guided to life and strength in front of everyone. Her pride burned, but she couldn't deny what was happening. The dragon started testing its wings further, flapping harder, lifting slightly off the ground. Its tail swished with purpose, and a spark of determination gleamed in its eyes. Ronan encouraged it, guiding it carefully, never pushing too hard. The dragon responded with growing confidence, as if it understood that the human was not a threat but a partner. The saboteur realized the human was adapting faster than expected. Every attempt to disrupt was met with a clever fix, a quick adjustment, a calm, steady hand. The dragon grew stronger under Ronan's guidance, and the audience could see it. One alien whispered in awe, How can a human do this?" Ronan glanced around the hall briefly. He noticed the jealous engineers stepping back, frustrated and worried. But he didn't care about them. His focus was on the dragon, and the dragon alone. He understood something fundamental: power didn't always come from size, status, or authority. Sometimes, it came from patience, courage, and the ability to adapt. By evening, the dragon could flap its wings with much more control, and it even took a few careful hops forward. The crowd murmured in astonishment. Some aliens who had doubted humans began to nod quietly, while others remained frozen in disbelief. Lysera's expression darkened. She had underestimated a human, and it stung her pride. Ronan knelt beside the dragon, placing a reassuring hand on its side. "You're doing great," he whispered. "We'll show them just how strong you really are." The dragon growled softly, its eyes meeting his. In that moment, Ronan knew they were no longer just mechanic and dragon, they were partners, ready to face whatever challenges came next. The night settled over the station, but the crowd didn't leave. Everyone wanted to see what would happen tomorrow. They had watched a human survive sabotage, protect a dragon, and slowly bring it back to life. And in doing so, Ronan had proven something far greater: humans were not to be underestimated. Lysera turned away, furious but thoughtful. For the first time, she realized that mocking this human might have been her gravest mistake. Somewhere deep in her mind, a small seed of fear took root. She had no idea what Ronan might do next. But Ronan didn't think about her. He focused on the dragon, testing its strength, encouraging its movements, and quietly preparing for the next stage. He knew the hardest challenges were still ahead, but he also knew that together, they could overcome anything. And somewhere in the dark corners of the hall, the alien nobles whispered among themselves, perhaps humans were stronger than anyone had ever imagined. The next morning, the hall was alive with anticipation. Rumors of the human mechanic's success with Lysera's dragon had spread through the station like wildfire. Aliens crowded the upper decks, some sneering, some whispering in disbelief, and some secretly rooting for the human. Lysera herself stood at the center, her expression sharp, filled with pride, arrogance, and an unfamiliar flicker of doubt. Ronan arrived early, tools in hand, and immediately went to the dragon. It lay waiting for him, eyes bright, wings twitching lightly, tail swishing with renewed strength. There was no fear now, only cautious curiosity. Ronan knelt beside it, speaking softly. "Today is the big test," he said. "Don't worry, I'll be with you every step of the way." The dragon responded with a low, steady growl, nudging his shoulder lightly. It trusted him completely. Ronan smiled faintly. This wasn't just about repairing an injured creature anymore. This was about proving, once and for all, that humans were capable of feats aliens considered impossible. Lysera stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Very well, human. Let us see what you've done. Show them how a human dares to touch a dragon." She gestured, and a crowd of nobles pressed closer, eager to witness the spectacle. Some were confident, certain that the human would fail at the crucial moment. Others leaned forward, curiosity winning over pride. Ronan stood and backed a few steps, giving the dragon space. "Go ahead," he whispered. "Move." The dragon flexed its wings. At first, it rose only a few inches, trembling, unsure. A murmur went through the crowd. The aliens expected weakness, failure. But then, with a strong beat of its wings, the dragon lifted fully off the ground, hovering steadily. Its wings glimmered under the hall lights, and sparks from the repaired implant shimmered like stars along its scales. The crowd gasped. Lysera's eyes widened. She hadn't expected this. Not only had the human repaired her prized dragon, but now it was moving with strength, grace, and confidence she had never seen in it before. She clenched her fists, her pride stinging. Ronan stayed calm. He guided the dragon with subtle gestures and words, helping it maneuver through the hall without touching the floor. The creature responded instantly, flapping higher, spinning lightly, and even hovering over the heads of the crowd. Aliens whispered, their disbelief turning to awe. "Impossible," one said. "No human should be able to control a dragon like this." The dragon suddenly darted forward, moving through the hall in a series of tight, controlled loops. Its strength was growing, its agility sharp, and for the first time, the crowd could see the raw power it possessed. Sparks flew from its wings and implant with each flap, creating a dazzling display of light and motion. Lysera's mouth opened, but no words came. She had been so certain of her dragon's superiority, so confident in her own status. And now? She had been proven wrong. A human, fragile by alien standards, had not only restored her dragon but awakened a strength she had never imagined. Ronan stayed focused, guiding the dragon to land gently before him. The crowd held its breath. Silence fell. The dragon lowered its wings, chest heaving, eyes gleaming with energy. It nudged Ronan's shoulder again, acknowledging him. Ronan looked at the alien nobles, then at Lysera. "Strength doesn't always come from size or status," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Sometimes, it comes from patience, courage, and understanding." A low murmur of agreement ran through the crowd. Some aliens looked ashamed, others fascinated. The dragon shifted its stance, lifting a claw in a deliberate, almost regal gesture toward Ronan. It was a sign of respect, something no alien had ever seen a dragon give to a human. Lysera turned away, hiding her anger, but the flicker of realization was there. She had mocked him, laughed at him, and thought he was insignificant. But the human mechanic had done what no alien could, he had earned the respect of a dragon, healed it, and awakened its full power. The crowd erupted in applause, cheers, and shocked exclamations. Humans watching from the lower decks would have felt pride, even if they were far away, knowing that one of their own had accomplished what even the strongest aliens had failed to do. Ronan's calm smile didn't change. He knew this moment wasn't just about proving himself, it was about showing everyone, alien and human alike, that courage and skill could surpass arrogance and status. Lysera finally met his eyes. She didn't speak. She couldn't. For the first time, she had no words, no clever insult. All she had was the undeniable truth, she had been proven wrong. Ronan patted the dragon's shoulder. "We're not finished yet," he said quietly. The dragon gave a low growl, almost like a chuckle, as if it understood. Together, they had achieved something extraordinary, something that would be remembered across the station and beyond. The crowd began to disperse, but the story had already spread. Whispers of the human mechanic who tamed the impossible dragon would echo through the galaxy. And for Ronan, Lysera, and the dragon, a new chapter was beginning, a chapter where humans could rise, dragons could trust, and no one could ever underestimate the courage of a human again. Ronan looked at the dragon one last time before leaving the hall. "This is just the beginning," he said, a spark of determination in his eyes. The dragon tilted its head in agreement, wings twitching lightly. They were ready. Together, nothing could stop them. And somewhere, in the back of the hall, Lysera finally whispered, almost to herself, "A human, who could do this?" The hall was quiet now, the echoes of the dragon's flight still lingering in the air. Aliens filed out slowly, some shaking their heads, some whispering, and some staring in awe. Even those who had mocked humans earlier seemed subdued, their pride bruised. Lysera remained behind, standing stiffly, arms crossed, eyes fixed on Ronan and the dragon. She had expected laughter, humiliation, or failure. Instead, she had witnessed something she had never imagined, a human turning weakness into strength, a fragile creature into a force to be reckoned with. Ronan knelt beside the dragon, inspecting the implants one last time. Its wings were fully repaired, strong and gleaming. Its eyes sparkled with life and intelligence, and it moved with confidence. The dragon nudged him gently, pressing its snout against his shoulder. He smiled. "We did it," he said quietly. "We showed them." The dragon let out a low, satisfied growl. It had learned to trust a human completely. It had followed his guidance, survived sabotage, and discovered its own strength again. Together, they had achieved the impossible. Lysera finally spoke, her voice low but steady. "You've done what no alien could," she admitted, though the words were bitter. "I mocked you. I thought you were weak. I was wrong." Ronan looked at her calmly. "It's not about being alien or human," he said. "It's about courage, patience, and doing what's right. That's what matters." Lysera's eyes narrowed. She had expected anger, defiance, maybe humiliation, but Ronan's calm confidence unsettled her. There was no gloating, no boasting. Just the undeniable truth of his skill, his courage, and the bond he had formed with the dragon. The dragon stepped closer to Ronan and let out a soft growl, almost like a laugh. It turned toward Lysera, then back to Ronan, as if choosing where its loyalty lay. Lysera flinched slightly. She realized the creature had not only been healed but had also learned to respect the human who had saved it. And for all her wealth, status, and power, she could not command that respect. Ronan stood slowly, brushing his hands on his pants. "This dragon isn't just a creature," he said, addressing the empty hall. "It's a partner. And it's stronger than you can imagine, because we worked together. Not because anyone forced it." Lysera's pride twisted inside her. She had relied on fear and authority to command respect, but it hadn't worked. Ronan had done something she could not, he had earned respect through skill, patience, and heart. She realized, painfully, that mocking a human had been a mistake she would never forget. The dragon nudged Ronan again and then let out a series of sharp, precise flaps that lifted it into the air, spinning lightly. Its movements were flawless, confident, and beautiful. The crowd, now returning in small groups, whispered in awe. Some aliens muttered apologies under their breath, while others simply stared, unable to comprehend what they had just seen. Ronan smiled faintly. "You've got your strength back," he said to the dragon. "But remember, it's not just power, it's trust, teamwork, and courage that matter. That's what makes us stronger than anyone expects." The dragon landed gently, lowering its wings, and pressed its head against Ronan's chest. In that moment, the bond between human and dragon was undeniable. Together, they had turned ridicule into triumph, weakness into strength, and doubt into awe. Lysera finally stepped forward, her voice softer this time. "I underestimated humans," she said quietly, almost to herself. "I mocked you, and the dragon, and I was wrong." She glanced at the dragon, then back at Ronan. Perhaps there is more to courage than I understood. Ronan nodded, his calm presence unwavering. Courage isn't about size or power, he said. It's about persistence, patience, and believing in what others can't see yet. Humans, dragons, anyone can rise if they're willing to try. The dragon let out a soft roar, echoing through the hall, like a statement to everyone present: humans and dragons could achieve the impossible. The crowd began to cheer, quietly at first, then louder. Even the most skeptical aliens found themselves clapping, marveling at what they had witnessed. Ronan looked out at the station, the vast expanse of space stretching beyond its walls. He knew this moment would be remembered, not just as a story of a human repairing a dragon, but as proof that humans could rise against doubt, arrogance, and underestimation. They could succeed where no one expected. The dragon nudged him again, a gentle reminder that they were partners now. Together, they could face anything. They were not just healer and patient, or mechanic and creature, they were a team, stronger together than any alien could have imagined. Lysera stood silently, humbled. She had learned a lesson she would not forget. Respect could not be demanded, and strength could not be assumed. She had been proven wrong, and the human mechanic had proven something far greater than anyone had expected: humans, underestimated and mocked, could rise to greatness. Ronan smiled, looking at the dragon and then at Lysera. "We've shown them what humans can do," he said. "And this is only the beginning." The dragon roared softly, wings spreading wide, and the hall echoed with the sound. It was a sound of triumph, of trust, of courage, and of something new, a bond between human and dragon that no one could break. The whispers of awe spread through the station and beyond. And somewhere deep in the heart of Lysera, the realization settled. She had laughed, she had mocked, but she had learned something important: never underestimate a human. Together, human and dragon stepped out of the hall, ready to face the galaxy. And the galaxy would never see humans the same way again.